How's it going, everyone? And welcome to a Pinecone list edition of No Excuses on YouTube, YouTube.com. The favorite shows are still.
Fenarian.
And Volatile. Yeah, by Disney.
Yeah.
Sniff.
Yeah, it's dead.
We're here to bring you the latest news and commentary on the video games industry for the week. The video games industry that now no longer includes the English version of Pinecone.
I'm going to totally forget that game's name was Princess Connect.
I
Yeah.
think a lot of people already have.
Well, the actual, portmanteau is Precon, but that's hard to say for me, so that's why I started calling it Pinecone.
You're not the only one.
Well, it's not relevant anymore.
Yeah.
Crunchyroll has seen to that.
Oh, I will make sure it stays relevant as a constant reminder. My anger ain't gone. It ain't died a little bit.
Why they do this, man? Why they bad?
Because
They're Crunchyroll.
Crunchyroll.
They hate you. And they hate Pecorine, apparently.
Yes.
And Kokoro.
But, no. I still use their app because, frankly, there's little other options, but I really don't want to anymore, honestly.
I don't. I stopped
I'll
that long ago.
The
I
other
will
option
introduce you to
is-
Bob.
Yeah, Honest Bob, Ben. Honest Bob is spotty at best.
Oh no, we got a pretty good Bob now.
I got to
Yeah,
find
the honest Bob that I use is probably a little bit better than Crunchyroll in terms of server reliability.
That's honestly not a high bar to jump.
You still going to the same Bobs I am?
Yeah. Although I don't really know for sure since they've got like half a dozen different landing pages, and you occasionally have to change.
Yeah.
So I'm not quite sure exactly whether I'm still using the same one or not, or something which looks very similar and has an identical name.
Yeah, and there's half a dozen other different Bobs that use the exact same layout, but different Bobs. So.
Don't worry, we'll show you the Bobs.
Oh, I know the Bobs.
Oh, we'll show you the best Bobs. We have the best Bobs.
Maybe I'm just naive and thinking that there is still some money getting back to the creators.
There's
Yes.
not.
There's not.
I mean, they
The only creators that are getting the money are the creators of High Guardian Spice.
they get the money for the initial licensing fee, and whatever you pay Crunchyroll, I guarantee you they're not sending anything to the creators.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to support the creators, you have to buy officially licensed stuff. Don't buy redistribution stuff.
Yeah. Oh well, it's probably time to sail the high seas and just buy merch.
Yeah, I was willing to play the game. I was willing to pay subscription fees to get legitimate streaming, but the companies that did it were bad, and the services provided were bad, and like the only real players in the game now are Funimation and Crunchyroll.
Funimation is Crunchyroll now.
Didn't
that's
they
also true.
merge?
Yeah,
they
merged.
did. It was first of all, it was the one that I didn't have too much trouble with. I had like one real spotty period with, but they got better. Was Anime Lab, and then they got bought out by Funimation, and then Funimation merged with Crunchyroll, and now that there's just one big corporate shoggoth of I don't give a toss about legitimate anime anymore.
Yeah.
But I buy enough Blu-rays, it should be fine.
There's a skit Giga did years and years and years ago, back when before the merger, and it was portraying all the anime studios as anime characters. And when it got to Funimation and Crunchyroll, it was just like the sappiest "No, I love you, no, I love you" back and forth between the two, because they weren't actually competing with each other.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is that you really can't, in a way. There's not really any space for competition there, because the only thing that they would be competing on would be original content, and neither of them produce original content worth a damn.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't really see how you can have competition in any meaningful sense, because the license can only go to one distributor. There's not really another option, and that's why so many titles have just fallen off the face of the earth. It's the same reason why I'm never going to get my Blu-ray of Unlimited Blade Works. Because you can't. Because the distribution rights are in limbo.
This other Miko in our party has very, very pink lips.
Yeah, looking a little bit Joker there, to be honest.
Mhm.
Anyway, if you'd like to get involved with the show, you can do so by sending us email at noexcusesvtw@gmail.com. You can follow us on the Twitter at noexcusesvtw, or you can join us in our Discord server. You can get there by clicking on the link provided in the show description underneath the show archive on YouTube, where you can post your spicy memes in the chat and talk to the show hosts and other listeners to the show.
I've done a good dump this week. You can come see what's all been going on there.
Yeah, let's take these guys over here.
I'm not ninja today, so you don't have to worry about my Doton.
Yeah, so let's dive into Rex, shall we? And I suppose while we're on the topic of anime, that's basically all I've really done this week. It's, yeah, everything's kind of gone horribly, horribly wrong. But I did.
Yeah, it sounded like it.
Yeah. So we're still sorting out all that mess on the work front, but on the anime side, I sat down and I actually got to watch a little bit of, what was it, Mashal? That's
The world's most transparent Harry Potter fanfic.
Yes, like you watch it and it's like, yeah, everything is blatantly ripping off Harry Potter, but then, yeah, as you said last week, then they just drop Saitama in the middle of it. Except Saitama, who is completely and utterly clueless.
So if you want to know what the show is like, if you've ever seen any of Stephen He's off-brand comedy skits, where he basically goes through a bunch of products which are Chinese knockoffs.
Confirm.
Yeah,
I'm
right.
pulling it.
The phenomenon here is quite similar. Like everything is just the off-brand Harry Potter.
Yeah. And even then, sometimes it's not even the off-brand Harry Potter, it's just straight up Harry Potter. Don't even try to hide it anymore.
Oh, we have Microsoft's competitor. Big Hard?
Big Hard.
Big Hard! That's his best off-brand skit.
But, yeah, they're playing everything straight. Everyone's all super-duper magical and acting the way that you might expect people in that society to kind of act, also completely ridiculously as well while they're at it. And then, yeah, you drop someone who can't do magic, but he can cast Fist.
And does so a lot as a solution to basically every problem.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a pretty good solution.
I had to admit, I was kind of looking forward to the Quidditch episode, or whatever they end up calling it, Duel or something like that. But, because, okay, he needs to fly in a broom. How is he going to do that? By breaking physics, as it turns out.
By flying the same way Yoshi does.
Yeah, he does the scuttle jump. I was honestly just expecting him to lift the broom with himself on it and fly that way. But, yeah, doing the Yoshi scuttle jump is just as good. So, it's a fun, dumb series.
It's very dumb. It's very dumb. I would not advise watching this expecting any kind of rich experience.
Yeah. So, if you want dumb, watch it. It is fantastic at what it does.
There's a place for dumb. Dumb is good.
Dumb
you need
is
some
good.
dumb.
Sometimes you just want sit down and watch some dumb. The other anime I watched, which likes to pretend it's smart, but is sometimes also incredibly dumb, is Dr. Stone. I finally sat down to do that one.
Oh boy.
I didn't watch any part of it because you made it sound really bad when you first introduced this.
Yeah, I only watched the first 3 episodes initially, and the first 3 episodes are still pretty on the nose. When they the opening line to basically the big conflict is, "Oh, I hope we don't wake up a murderer," and immediately wake up a murderer.
Yeah, I've also become increasingly resistant to any show which is like science.
Yeah.
Because I spent my time in academia. I know what scientists are like, and scientists are unreasoning, blind, dogmatic morons for the most part.
Yeah.
In any show that touts science just has a icky miasma over it. when I'm looking at it, and Dr. Stone is no exception.
Oh yeah, Senku does come across as kind of an aloof, arrogant, douchey twat sometimes.
Well, it has
In
nothing.
in real life, he would be 300 pounds, wear a fedora, and have a filthy neckbeard.
But this is anime, so he is like regular, actually slightly athletic build with stupid hair. Makes him look like an onion.
Yeah, I don't remember anything about this show. Like any of the plot specifics, I do not remember. Other than methane gas was represented as a hot woman that turns into a zombie.
Oh, that's sulfuric acid gas.
Yeah, sulfuric gas or whatever.
Yeah.
Every other plot beat I totally forgot because it just did not stick with me at all.
Like it's a visual metaphor, and I get it, but it's just kind of okay. You kind of played it a bit too much, and they keep coming back to it.
By the sounds of it.
But,
it sounds very cringe.
It is rather cringe, but it is, I find, to be kind of a fun ride a lot of times. You kind of sit down and don't think too much because, like, a lot of the science is just really rapid fired over your head.
Well, the thing is that when I watch a show that requires me to not think very much, I prefer for that show not to have any pretensions about being thoughtful.
Yeah. In this case, yeah, everything they throw at you is accurate, but it's like very, very, very truncated. Because, I mean, they've only got limited time, so they just go, bang, here's your science. We use this stuff to make this thing. Here, we've made this thing now. Okay, what do we need to do next? We need to make this thing. Okay, we made the thing.
There is a scene that I rather appreciated in, ReZero.
Mm.
Where Subaru thinks, because he's watched a bunch of science anime, that he can take care of the massive monsters that are coming at them inside of a mansion room by throwing a whole bunch of dust in the air and then striking a match and make a big explosion. And it doesn't work. And this is, like, I imagine this is how in reality most of Dr. Stone's things would go.
In a lot of cases, yeah, it's goes, all right, you've fine, okay, you've made the compound you need, but you've kind of skipped a few steps. And
yeah,
I mean, I do rather appreciate that about ReZero, although there's not much that I like about it based on what I've seen. I do like the deconstructive aspect of it because, frankly, it's sorely needed.
Yeah. It's yeah, that's basically the big thing is Dr. Stone is, yes, okay, they skip a bunch of steps and make things seem a lot easier than they are in real life, and they're somehow able to, do complex chemical processes in, a shed with barely the right equipment, if at all. There's also a really a common theme of, okay, we need to find this compound or this material or something. Oh, look, there it is. So,
I need a big bag of gold. That's what I need. Yep.
Yep. I mean, Dr. Stone, somehow they've got a lot of gold. They don't explain. Well, they kind of explain. You've got Chrome, the tribal guy who's running around, and yeah, they don't actually talk about the genetics behind that once they realise where the tribe actually came from.
I would have a whole lot less problem with Dr. Stone if the coup hadn't happened.
Well, so you had a whole bunch of people running around pretending to be experts.
I mean, yes.
Well, we had that. So we had a bunch of science snob types that have no clue what they're talking about. And then you also have a whole bunch of scientists that are nominally educated in this stuff that had no clue what they were talking about.
Well, it's not really that they had no clue. A lot of them were very, very particularly obfuscating the truth for personal gain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, if you want to be a career scientist in the modern world, the pursuit of science is totally not on your radar at all. Like, that's not important at all. What's important is to keep the money flowing.
Yeah.
And you keep the money flowing by using politics and scare tactics. Those are the only things that matter to you.
The common one that really annoyed me that popped up a lot. It was like, a reputable scientist says this, and because okay, they're talking about COVID. What's their qualifications? They're a geologist.
Yeah, I mean that's how climate change is established as well.
Yeah.
Like if you look at the papers, the overwhelming majority of scientists positively affirming climate change as it is conceived of by the establishment are in fields that have nothing to do with atmospheric chemistry whatsoever. Like we're talking 99.99999% of them.
I had this
And
conversation
the ones
with
that
my barber today, of all things.
the ones that do know atmospheric chemistry, they say, "Oh yeah, the climate changes, and it's possible that our emissions have an effect on it. We do put that stuff into the air after all." But because the relationship between CO2 concentration and temperature, even if it works exactly as we predict that it will, the relationship is logarithmic. We would need 10 times the amount of change that we're actually producing in order to actually notice it. So, yeah, there's a lot of meta studies that exist that are just ways of padding the numbers. And when you're not busy doing actual research because your job is no longer to be a bench worker but to be a grant farmer, the only studies that you tend to produce are review papers and meta studies, meaning that your only job is to collect evidence that you deserve money. And this is how academia works, and it's why I now work a menial soul-destroying job in the sciences instead of being in academia, because I saw that no study, no research of like true sort of sincerity takes place anymore in the vast majority of scientific establishments. It's just not a thing that happens.
Yeah, and if the coof had not happened with Dr. Stone, it would have less of an ick on it because the scientists wouldn't have made it so blatant to everybody.
The mystique has been tarnished. Because there was a certain mystique to the scientists. Like most of the people in my generation grew up with the image of the sort of the absent-minded professor in a lab coat in the laboratory who was a genius at one particular thing and completely nads at everything else. But yeah, that's not. While that person still exists, that person is not involved in science anymore. That person was medicated as a child to the point that they couldn't accomplish anything. That's what actually happens to that person now.
Yeah, and in a world where the coof didn't happen and science wasn't so coofed, I could see Dr. Stone as a fairly mid-tier animu that has maybe baby's first chemistry lesson occasionally pop up in it.
Yeah, and that's
it's sort of like a show espousing the sort of the coolness of communism at this point. It's like, no, actually, we've seen how that works in the real world, and it's not like that.
Yeah, they do go down that route. I'm pretty sure too.
Yeah, the big bad for the first 2 seasons kind of goes that route because all the adults screwed everything. So let's just stay as cavemen.
Yeah, I really liked the way Log Horizon handled that.
Log Horizon, I think, handled it a lot better.
They had a strong faction within the Round Table that was pushing for socialist communist ideals because they believed that was the way that you help the poor. And it was actually coming from contra real communism, it was actually coming from a place of sincerity. Like, the guy involved genuinely believed that giving the people who are the down and out of the society money would give them the leg up they needed to find self-motivation again. Like, he was just naive like that. But, it was explained how that wouldn't work, and when there was a disagreement, he created a political schism. And that political schism devolved into basically him trying to draft the entirety of Akiba into an empire where they would be ruled in order to make things fair. Like, everything plays out the way you normally expect it to. But yeah, I don't know if we'll ever see the end of that story since the guy writing it got done for tax evasion. He was a radical. He was a radical libertarian, and I guess he took it a little bit too seriously. Taxation is theft, bro.
He crossed that line from libertarian to anarchist.
No, I just
And libertarians always say taxation is theft. It's just very few of them actually follow through on avoiding it.
so yeah.
So yeah,
What else you do, Fern?
that's basically been about it. I've dabbled with a few little video games here and there, and haven't really managed to accomplish much. So nothing actually really worth talking about on that front. Because yeah, although should all go to plan, I actually get a few hours. Hopefully next week I'll be able to talk about Age of Wonders 4. Although that game takes a long time to play.
Yeah.
But I do love me some Age of Wonders. It's like Heroes of Might and Magic kind of filled that niche really well for like 2 games. And then yeah, Might and Magic has fallen so far. I'm not sure if they're making any Might and Magic games anymore.
Oh, the company making them has gone bankrupt and been resold, and the property's been picked up by other people a number of times. So.
They're part of the Ubisoft Shoggoth now.
Ubisoft, they got rid of Uplay, right? That's not a thing anymore, right?
If they haven't, it's not being mandated for a while that I've seen.
Because nobody likes Uplay.
Yeah, that is why Ubisoft was my bugbear company for a while.
Yeah.
They had games like Trials and stuff, and started forcing me to use Uplay if I wanted to play them.
Yeah.
I would have loved to play Trials Rising more, but they wanted me to play Uplay.
Yeah, and Uplay didn't work half the time. And in my experience, it actually deleted my account at one point.
Yeah,
that's what you wanted, right?
I mean, maybe. It means I was playing Settlers 7 at the time, and I was thoroughly enjoying that. Whoops, I forgot she does that. And yeah, Settlers 7, I think, had a lot going for it, but then they deleted my account, and I lost access to that game. And at that point, it was because, well, how are we going to fix it? You're going to have to buy Settlers 7 again on a new account. How about no?
Yeah, they tried to pull that with me with one game. I forget what it was. And I think Pim got it for me.
Mm-hmm.
He got me one of the Alice games on Steam. And I tried to redeem the code on Uplay. Or I tried to redeem the code on Steam, and it said, no, go redeem it on Uplay. So I'm like, okay, I'll go do that. And so I go to redeem it on Uplay. And it just wouldn't take it. And I got into an argument with customer service for a long time about, no, this has already been paid for. You're going to give me the product.
Yeah. What on earth? Sorry, my cat just started attacking a shoe, of all things, out of nowhere.
So, you got anything else for your week, Fern?
That's basically it. I'll leave it at that, because we do need to keep things moving this week.
All right. I want to pogo off Vaul's week, and just go ahead and insert mine here while we're together. Right after Fern's week. Because we both did something this week.
You did. You did a thing.
That was the only thing that I did before I plunging back into hell. I've got a real walls are closing in around me feeling right now because of the amount of stuff on my plate at work. But there's no helping any of that. I've just got to roll with the punches.
Yep. So on Saturday, after the show, Fern left us mid-show. So me and you decided to go poke at Eureka Orthos, just kind of mostly on a whim at first, but we started making some progress, and you were absolutely getting pretty gone there by the end of it, I thought. So
yeah, I was not really sure what was going on, to be honest.
Yeah,
you still managed to make it to the resurrection thingy.
So despite running up on time quite a few times, because I had to go clear to the res thing that takes more kills than the exit, we managed to get to floor 70 and be in a fairly good palm position, except for Dreads. And so I was like, yeah, if you get on tomorrow, we might be able to do this. And so picking up where I left off talking about Eureka Orthos last week, we picked up on Sunday and managed to get my second clear and your first clear.
Yes, indeed. And we got all the unis.
Yeah.
All of the unis.
All the
Always
unis.
Uni.
We had like uni basically every floor for a while accompanying us.
Yeah. She wasn't doing a whole lot, but she was casting arrow.
I think she was doing plenty. I was quite happy to have her.
Yeah. So, now you have first-hand experience of the 70 to 100. What'd you think in general first before we go into the specifics?
Mm, I liked it. Like it, I still don't like doing it solo. I just don't really have any interest in that. It's not fun to me. It's just monotonous, and occasionally my attention is going to wander, and that will just result in the run being ended, and that would just be too frustrating for me to deal with. So I still don't have any intention of doing it by myself, but I'm quite happy to do it, with somebody else. I feel like the real challenges to it are mostly meta challenges, though. They're mostly about things like they're not about executing the game correctly. They're about things like foreknowledge and focus and having the right strategy to hand already when you meet something in particular, and identifying what features of the terrain are real and what ones are not, what things block line of sight and what things do not. Like, I feel like the difficulty, despite the viciousness of the later floor monsters, I feel like the difficulty curve really, really dropped off simply because you could see in the latter tile set what you were doing.
Yeah, the cave tile set is infamous for being the most difficult tile set to navigate in and get surprised by mobs in, and just very difficult to line of sight stuff in. And it was that way in Palace of the Dead, and it's like that. And now that it's made its return for a whopping 50 floors.
Yeah, I don't know why they did so much of it like that. Like, it was just really burdensome. I think that they should have just changed tile set every 20 floors or something. It would have made me a lot happier.
Yeah, I would have been okay with them recycling any of the other floor sets. And what's worse is the cave floor set has the donut room in it.
Mm.
The donut room, you cannot guarantee that you will not step on a trap. There is about a 1 in 5 chance that even if you hump the wall, you'll step on a trap. Because there just ain't a whole lot of room to move in the donut rooms. And if a trap spawns in the room, there just ain't a whole lot of ground space that it can potentially spawn on, so sometimes the game just shoves it into the wall, even though it's really not supposed to. So the cave floor set is a pain in the butt. It's also why Harambe is scarier than all the stuff that was doing one-shot AoEs on the later floor sets. Like, we had stuff on the later floor sets all doing big, room-wide one-shot AoE. It doesn't matter. Harambe is still the scariest because you can't see Harambe.
Yeah. I also was I got very frustrated with a lot of the bosses, mainly because it was very, very clear that they are simply not designed for people with latency. Like, I got a screenshot of me standing, in a comically perfect location and still getting completely murdered, and there was nothing that I could do about it. I reacted easily in time. I got to exactly where I should be, but because the way you compensate for lag is to keep moving so that the server calculates your vector at the time that it ticks, such that it will predict your position correctly, because the server registers your position as based on prediction, not on measurement. So you have to keep moving after you've escaped a telegraph in order to actually avoid the effect if it's a short telegraph.
Yeah,
Problem is, the movement space is so restricted that you can't, because if they predict wrong, you will simply be standing in something else. So it's not designed for their netcode. The challenge does not work if you've got a long latency.
Kalia in particular is really bad about this for 2 reasons. Number one, Kalia's telegraphs are some of the janky ones that don't fire right away when the hitbox disappears. You got about an extra quarter second before they fire. And number 2, there ain't a whole lot of safe space when Kalia does her stuff with the donut. Like, you got 4 tiny pizza slices.
Yeah, it was just it was kind of a mess, and I feel like I really like, and mechanically and thematically I really like Excalibur, but I really, really don't like Administrator. Like, I feel like administrators are there to cull people who have managed to make progress, but it feels like I feel like I'm being bullied rather than that. Oh well, this is a challenge that I've got to overcome. It is a challenge. You do have to overcome it, and you have seen all of Storge's mechanics before, but it doesn't. Something about it doesn't feel fair. It feels like you're being weeded out. It doesn't really feel like you're fighting an enemy.
Yeah, you're fighting the ads around the room and trying to survive while whatever demi-clone you have whittles down the boss in a way.
Yeah, like that fight, like I can't envision a way of doing it without Onion Knight.
Yeah,
Like it just seems like the way you're supposed to do it is have Onion Knight available, but that doesn't feel right to me. Like as far as boss design is concerned.
I've done it with Doga and rolling sustaining potions, but he's just rough. Even on good latency, he just it can feel unfair sometimes with some of the setups if he just drops those chaser AoEs that follow you for a little bit of the fight in a bad spot.
I think that I would be happy with a toned, maybe very, very slightly toned down version of him, or maybe floor 40 or 50. But putting that on floor 90 is deeply unfair, in my opinion, because you need to see that fight. Like, your only solution in order to complete that fight is to watch it over and over on video, because there are too many telegraphs to learn by doing. It's you could make the argument everything is sight readable, because yes, everything is sight readable. That's true for every boss in there. That's part of the way it's designed. However, it's not readable in time for you to pass it, and if you don't pass it and you're solo, you make one mistake and you don't get to see it anymore. And if you're in a group, you know, the odds that somebody is gonna die is pretty high. Like, that's just the way it is. Like, I feel like as a boss, it's not very fair. It's in the wrong position. Like, I understand why it's there, and I'm willing to hear like the designer's argument for it's supposed to be challenging, but to me it feels a bit wrong. It feels like it's designed to weed you out and not designed to just be a fair challenge. Because they positioned such a fickle boss in such a specific way as to maximize the amount of people who will drop out at the latest possible stage of the challenge.
Mm-hmm. And you do notice a floor 90 drop off of people that got to floor 90 and didn't clear it. He is a wall for people. I managed to beat him my first time, but I had a raising going, and I did die my first attempt. And I watched the video many times to be able to get him dead. Oh, there we go. You got level 85 Fern.
Yep.
I'm not giving that ugly person with their lips a calm. I can't do it.
You're really offended by the lips.
I am. Oh, I got their calm. Now I feel bad. Get better lips. But yeah, Administrator is a pain. He's an incredibly stressful fight, even on good latency, because you have to react so quickly to so many things in sequence, and you have to remember exactly what every mechanic does, what every shape does, watch the order they appear in. And he does have an execution point to him. You do have to check the order. You have to check the facings of the eggs on the side during his big mega thing. You've got to check the order during his first batch of mechanics.
But you still nearly botched it.
Yeah, I
nearly
did.
botched it, and that would have been incredibly dispiriting. Like, I'm willing to go in there for another run because we got past it, but I don't know how willing I would be if we had gotten to floor 90 and washed out.
Yeah,
that would have been very, very damaging to my morale, simply because we spent so long on it, and that fight felt so unfair.
Yeah, there's so much brain work going on in just remembering what everything does in that fight, and doing it so quickly that in his very last mechanic of the loop, he will summon enough laser beam drones on the edge of the room so that only 2 straight lines that will intersect at 2 points will be safe from these. And then he will spawn 2 egg-shaped drones that will shoot full arena-wide cones. And you need to figure out what direction those egg things are facing and get in the appropriate safe spot to not take any damage, and it is half of one square of the tiles on the floor.
Yeah, it's about big. It's about big enough for a character.
Yikes.
Yeah, it is a very well. It's not as tiny as like kitty cats, but kitty cats are easy because they're always predetermined. This guys are not. What corners are going to be the safe corners, and which corner is going to be the actually safe corner, is random every time. Now,
it is determined by the direction an egg is facing.
Yeah,
and an egg is a round object.
so you need to look for the geometric patterns that appear on the side of the egg to see what direction it's facing, to see which zone the safe spot's going to be. And the first time we got to the end of the loop, I went to the wrong safe spot. Now, here's the good news if you go to the wrong safe spot. If you have a Commander of Steel going, you can take the shot, as long as you're in the wrong safe spot and not anywhere else on the board. It will hurt.
You will take one hit instead of two.
Yeah. It will hurt, and you will drop to like 15% HP, and you need to heal immediately.
Well, Onion Knight needs to heal.
Yeah, Onion Knight needs to save you, which is... I popped everything as soon as I realized, uh-oh, I done goofed. And Onion Knight bailed me out. But you need to get to that... you need to not make that mistake, if at all possible, because it is a very scary mistake to make. And it's just a lot to read. Then you have to read it quickly. You don't have a whole lot of time to figure out where the safe spot is. You've just got to look and figure it out and go. And if you guess the wrong spot, you're better off just committing to it and just taking the hit like I did. Because if you try to course correct because you realize you're running the wrong spot, you're not going to make it. It fires too fast. But yeah, Administrator is very stressful. But once you beat Administrator...
Well, the thing is, by the time you get to Administrator, you're already tired.
Yeah. His
That's why I say it would be easier if he was lower, because you would be risking less progress and you would be less tired at the time that you need that maximum level of alertness. Because everything that takes place in Excalibur makes logical sense, whereas everything that takes place in Administrator is just react to the random fast enough.
Yeah. Administrator is you'll remember on the attempt we did, when we got to Administrator, I took a good 20 seconds to take a few deep breaths and really stop and orient my head to get ready to do that fight. Because I had to... You gotta be in the right headspace to do that fight. You do not have very much margin for error. And even with the steel, you can get hit by one mechanic once a minute. And that even then, you can only get hit by potentially overlapping mechanics if you only get hit by one of them. Just he's a mess of a fight. That's a really stressful fight. I don't mind him as a boss. If he was just ported as is to like floor 60 and put something else there that's a little less nerve-wracking, I would like it better. But I'm going to dread getting to floor 90 more than I will to floor 99 every single time we do it.
Yeah, I think that if he was on floor 99, I would have no complaints, because he's meant to be the most obnoxious boss in there. That's what it would feel like. If he was on floor 60, I would not mind so much, because it's you are a little bit fresher, you haven't committed so much time to the run, but he's still a really solid challenge. But that position, like as the penultimate boss, is really cruel.
He does earn his stripes, though. He is a rough one. He definitely signals you're nearing the end, which is if you've been playing your palm smart, going to be a bit of an anticlimax, because you're going to palm your way through the 90 set.
Well, we palmed supernaturally well, to be honest.
Yeah, our palm luck on the 90 set was nuts. We came out of that with Dread's Despair. We used a Dread to put Vaul on the final boss. And we had 2 Onion Knights and poor Excalibur.
Yeah, like, we didn't really need to fight Excalibur, because those Onion Knights bent him over.
Yeah, 5 Vuln stacks plus 2 Onion Knights. Excalibur didn't stand a chance.
What do you do to deserve
By the
that?
time he'd finished his demonstration loop of abilities, he was already down to 50%.
Yeah, he made it through one complete loop, and then he just fell over. So there was no having to repeat mechanics or do the other set of mechanics he can potentially RNG into. He just kind of fell over. So we did get to do a full complete loop of him, and I've done the full legit fight without Vuln stacks and only one Onion Knight. So having to do multiple loops. I really like Excalibur as a final boss. I think he's big, flashy, showy. All of his mechanics can be easily done as long as you know they're coming. You can learn him, but there's still stuff to react to during the fight. Being sure you react appropriately will reward you with extra damage time on the boss, and it just feels like a good boss. So I don't know if you got a good handle since it was your first Excalibur run, but what did you think of Excalibur?
Well, I felt like it was a very simple fight. It follows very simple rules, and you just need to execute those rules sequentially in the correct way. The only thing, or we didn't have to do the only thing that I didn't like about it, and the only thing that I didn't like about it is sunspots. Because I don't like sunspots as a mechanic. I feel like they add a sort of a weird form of randomness that never matches anything else in the fight. It's always sort of a little bit out of place wherever they appear, and I don't like sunspots, but we didn't get sunspots. We got the trivial mechanic instead of sunspots. But I liked the fight generally. I felt like it was a bit anticlimactic, but I felt like it also needed to be at that point, because when you hit 99, you're too tired to worry about anything else. You just want it to be over.
Yeah, and I do think he's a big, flashy, fun fight at the end. He's very, very sparkly. Well, not sparkly, but he's a very bright boy.
Well, I feel like that fight, unlike Administrator, that fight feels like a reward for having made it to there. Administrator feels like they're trying to cock block you, whereas Excalibur feels like they were trying to reward you with a flashy, climactic fight. And it's only anticlimactic because you're braced for them. Like, really braced in our case.
Yeah. Poor Excalibur. He didn't deserve this. I feel bad for him. But, yeah. The floor sets leading up to it, though. The 70 to 80 set is the Harambe set. We got fairly good Harambe luck when we went through.
We didn't have any nasty surprises, and we didn't have any surprise wall Harambes this time.
Yeah, well, we had one, but he'd already monkey noised, and so I just pulled him and moved him out of the room. But mostly the other scary mob on that floor, well, everything on that floor set is scary, but the other super scary mob on that floor set is the Thunder Beast, because its animation tail is so subtle, and there is no cast bar for its side tail.
Well, it feels to me that's a monster that gets dramatically less scary with DPS.
Yeah, also with practice. Knowing what the animation looks like when it finally clicks, okay, it's doing side tail. But it's such a subtle animation shift.
I was not able to actually see it. Like, I did not understand. I just would sort of get a feeling in my water, it's time to move away now, and I'd move away, and then it would scythe tail.
Yeah, once you see the timing between scythe tails, you can ballpark when it's about time for another scythe tail. But the Gulu Gulos, we didn't encounter the bug. Maybe it's been fixed. Hopefully. I avoided pulling Karghast as much as possible. The Griffins are a nightmare to deal with. And thankfully we either were able to burst them down before they could do Winds of Winter, or we just didn't deal with them.
What do the Gula Gulos, what is the interaction between Gula Gulos and Doga's Petrify?
That would screw it up. Before the patch, if Doga petrified them while they were casting Killing Paw, they would bank the Killing Paw and just run up to you and one-shot you. They say they fixed it, but people have said they haven't.
So, nobody wants to try it out.
So I've only seen one or two reports that they haven't fixed it, but those people could just be bad because I didn't know their names or recognize them. So could be trolling, could be people that just got owned by something else and thought it was the Killing Paw. Who knows? But it is definitely better than it was because we were able to blow lethargies and not worry about Gulu Gulo banking a paw. So yeah, everything else on that floor set, not too bad. Bird of Orthos, basic look away. Unicorns will take you for a ride. Coral's got the really wide blaster. The Heffalumps, they charge at you and do a point blank. Nothing too bad there. The Scatines can be a little scary because you can't see they don't have an indicator at all for how big their point blank is. But as long as you just run away when you pull them and stay out of melee range, you're probably okay. Give it about double melee range, and you're probably safe. The next floor set with a whole bunch of undead and giant cones and lines. There ain't a whole lot to talk about with the 80 to 90 set. The mobs themselves aren't too bad. I can't think of any that's a genuinely scary threat except for the Spectre.
We more or less just avoided them.
Yeah, as best we could, we tried not to pull the Spectres. Spectres are the Chimera of that floor set, and they are terrifying. They have left and right sweep that is a greater than 180-degree swipe to the side they tell you they're going to swipe at. Surrounding burst, which is a point blank, and ringing burst, which is a donut, and they can do any of these whenever they want.
In any other context, they would be a boss.
Yeah, but they're the patrols, and they're proximity aggro. So thankfully the rooms are super huge on these floors, and you're humping the walls anyway, so letting them just kind of move on by is a valid option, and what I recommend if you don't want to risk losing your whole run to a dumb mistake. Did we deal with any race?
I don't remember which one wraiths are.
They're the ones that do the scream, but you got to run really far away. We didn't
feel
get
like we
very
did
many.
one. I think we did like a couple, like 2 or 3.
Yeah, normally they're a bigger problem on that floor set. They're not hard. You just, unlike other race, you can't interrupt or stun the scream. You just got to run away from it, and it's really big. But there's those. Oh, the hex eyes. These assholes. Right. So they are completely unnotable until they get to about 30% health. And then they'll start casting Catharsis. And this is a 50-yard radius.
It is the world's most cunning greed trap.
Yeah, like...
Is that always just sort of just low enough to make you think that maybe, just maybe, you can greed them with a cooldown?
Yeah, don't ever try it. You will lose that greed. But other than that, everything has very basic tells. As long as you read the guide beforehand, you shouldn't have any trouble on this floor set. The only thing that might get you is the Hecti and the Spectre. And we've already talked about Administrator. And then we have the 90 to 100 set, which, if you haven't been done with your palms, should be fairly easy. Because you should always have, at minimum, like a Lethargy or something. Or a available demi-clone. And demi-clones pop out of silver chests like candy from the 80s onward. So you will have a Uni, unfortunately, most of the time. If you're us.
That's just the way the dice roll.
Or
Well,
if you're like...
We needed to have a solution to these floors because we had some absolutely insane rooms in that floor set.
Yeah, we had 3 dreads in the bank, and I was going to dread the last 3 floors. And then we got a 4th dread that we couldn't pick up as we were leaving a floor. Like, okay, well, I'll just carry the dread to the next floor and start clearing. And we got about halfway through the floor. I used the sight, or had Vaul use the sight so I could see where I was going. And started clearing us to the exit, because we're just trying to get to clear at this point. And there's a treasure room halfway there. And there's no way around it. With a dread, I could not kill the whole treasure room, because if you just go run in there with the dread, you're just going to die.
Yes.
You don't have the health, and Rotoswipe has too long a cooldown in a single target. So we had to very carefully dread what we could out of there, and then pick our way through. I think I popped a loose strength as well to get us through there. And
Yeah, there was just a huge number of mobs in that room.
yeah, it was a super fat room. I think we got another dread in there afterwards too. So we got the dread back. One floor we got that was just totally free. We got a no regen floor, and we had a storm sandy. We managed to save the storms, so just blew up that floor. And the rest of it went pretty smooth. We did not have to deal with any chimeras. Now, the Ortho Chimera is the scariest trash mob in any deep dungeon, if you fight it. But thankfully, it's sight aggro. It's the only chimera in a deep dungeon that is not proximity aggro. This thing has the standard, drag on me in, ram run for its voices. And in addition to that, it has Dragon's Breath, which is a 200-degree cone to the upper left. And it has Engulfing Ice, the same thing to the right. And Scorpion Sting, a back attack.
Well, at least the back attack is always going to be at the back, so just hug its butt.
Yeah, so the strat, if you have to pull one, is hump its rump, and that'll keep you safe from the two conal breaths, so you can just keep DPSing through them. And you just react to the dragon and ram's voice as normal, and then if you see Scorpion Tail, run away. So, while that sounds simple, it looks really scary, and I try not to pull them if at all possible. I think the only mob that got you on this floor set was a random Orthotar.
Yeah, it was because I ran the wrong direction. Because the difference with these particular Minotaurs and all of the other Minotaurs is simply the size of the telegraph. So his swipe for all the other Minotaurs, if you're sort of a moderate distance away and it's going to swipe in your direction, you can just run away from the swipe and be outside it. But you can't with these ones. Yeah, and I instinctively started to run away because I was quite a long way away from it. I was like, I must be really near the edge of the telegraph. I'll just run out of it. No, you must run side to side. And we were on a bridge. So there was no side to side. I would have needed to run towards the Minotaur. That would have been the only option. And I was too far away once I realized that. So
a bit much to brain to core and run to the side. Could not process that. I couldn't process that fast either, to be fair. But Minotaur's what got me the first time as well to a similar mistake. Although mine was caused more by me getting in a hurry because I was way behind on time on my first attempt through the 90s, and I did not have a good bomb layout.
We finished Excalibur with a quarter of an hour to spare.
Yeah, we got a lot of dreads. So we didn't actually have to interact with this floor set, which unfortunate for talking about stuff on the show, but for us trying to get the clear, that was really good. So I would like to finish our 3-man run just so I can get the save slot back and nothing.
I don't know if you talked about it last week or not. Your sort of radical change in POM strategy between that run and the run that we just did.
Yeah.
Right. So I did not understand. Well, okay. I understood it for Palace, but I thought the rules for Flight and Affluence carried over to Heaven on High and Eureka Orthos. They do not. There is some evidence, quite a bit of evidence actually, that says using a Commander of Flight has a significant chance to reduce the floor size of the next floor, which means if you used an Affluence, you would get less chests. That rule does not seem to apply at all from experimentation in Heaven on High or Eureka Orthos, especially on the later floor sets. So it is always beneficial to use an Affluence and a Flight together, because it means there's less mobs to kill and more chests to pick up. So you can explore more safely and recoup some palms. So you can treat that floor set as a recovery floor if you're hurting for palms. This helped tremendously when I did this. It turned our very bad early palm situation into something we could get it clear with, because our palm situation early was dire, and we were running with basic palms for a while with no get out of jail free cards. But eventually the Flight and Affluence managed to break us through, and we got a full set of palms. Other than that, standard rules apply. Don't pop it unless you need it. You want to save everything you can, because you never know when you're going to do something stupid. When you're going to need the Witching, when you're going to need the Strength because you get a bad blinded floor. Just stuff like that. When you're going to be on a floor with a bunch of patrolling Kunoichis that'll one-shot you if you fall below 20% health and you got reduced health, you might need to blow a Stray Steel. Stuff like that. You just don't know, and it's better to have the tools in your toolbox because of the semi-randomized nature of the deep dungeons. So follow those.
You basically said goodbye to any no items floors.
Yeah, it is especially because we were doing no DP or 2 DPS. If one of us had been a tank, I might have tried to weather it, but despite what everybody will say, if there is a mob that needs pulling that hits hard, and the floor isn't flighted, and it says no items, that is a candidate for a Serenity. Because you need sustaining potions. It's just, you're not going to make it through as a DPS without sustaining potions. And no items doesn't just mean no commanders, it means no health potions and no sustaining potions. So, yeah, I've got a few amended strategies for dealing with bad floors. Just eating no ability floors, as much as it sucks, is something you sometimes just have to do.
That might depend on your class composition, though. Some classes get hurt really badly by that compared to others.
Yeah, mech does have 3 extra weapon skills that hit fairly hard, so I can get away with it pretty good on mech. Other classes, some classes just get destroyed by it. Like ninjas can't do that. No abilities is a death sentence for a ninja.
And if you're a tank, well, I mean, you've got your basic combo, and that's it. That's like the only thing you have access to.
Yeah. So class dependent, but if your class can deal with it, eating a no ability floor to save a Serenity is a genuinely something you might want to try, because it'll slow you down, but you've got to make that judgment as you're going through. Do I have the time to do it? Because you're going to be taking a lot longer.
So long as you remember that you can't like emergency backstep or whatever your character's evasion is.
Yeah. You also, there's just a whole bunch of stuff to keep in mind. Health reduced floors, don't care. Knockback disabled, don't care. Demi-clones disabled. I think I did pop 1 Serenity on those because we had an Onion Knight to pick up.
Well, but, I mean, Onion Knight's a bro. You wouldn't want to leave him behind.
So, in that scenario, maybe. That was not a smart call if we did do that, but is an option. But
I feel it paid off at the end. We had 2 Onion Knights for the final boss.
Yeah, it did. But the general idea is look at your debuffs and see how crippling it is, and check your time and see if you can live with it. And if you can live with it, don't pop a Serenity. You've got... Serenities are precious, and every single floor on the last floor set, except for 1, had double or triple debuffs. Blinded's bad, but it's not Serenityable unless you're down on time.
It's just a DPS debuff, effectively.
Yeah, it can suck and it can really screw you over, but it's one that you can live with. What else is there? Damage down is another one I will sometimes Serenity. And that's because it's something like 20%. And it makes you take way longer to kill stuff, especially because of the way the Eureka Orthos weapon and armor interacts with defense in there.
But the importance of that will decline the more people in the group.
Yeah, if you have enough people just to gangbang the mob, then you don't need to worry about damage. But no items is the scariest one. That's the one that is almost an auto Serenity by itself. Every other debuff can be lived
because it means that the second you step on a luring trap, the run is over. If you have no items.
Yeah, and it also means that any gold chests along the way go to waste. We did live through a few no items floors because we were low on Serenities, but we had to be very, very careful. And have to take those floors very, very slow. Because I had to let my health regen after every pull. And that's not fun. So
no, they're curing you. You're fine.
So yeah, we honestly use too many storms to deal with Dreadbeasts. In future runs, I don't think we'll be killing Dreadbeasts as much.
Yeah, they don't really seem to pay off, to be honest. Like, other than your reimbursement for potions spent. They don't really seem good value. Like, if you've got a strategy that works, that strategy's not going to depend on Dreadbeasts anyway. So the only time you should kill them is if they are like camping the exit.
Because it's just too valuable to have a Storms for a Storms play, or to have a Storms for a no recovery floor. Because a Storms on no recovery floor is a free floor. So, yeah. And I don't think we encountered a single respawn. Maybe one in our entire climb after floor 40. So the respawn rates are non-existent after floor 40. So you just gotta sit there, clear out all the pats, and then carefully make your way through the exit one room at a time, and eventually you'll get there. Just don't blow serenities when you don't need them, and watch the video on Administrator and Excalibur about 7 times before you go in and fight them, and you're good to go. Or have me there if you're fighting the kitty and you're like 12 beers in. So yeah, that's the end of Eureka Orthos, and all I think I'll have to say about it. I do want to do 2 more runs. I want to do 2 more runs before I forget everything, because I want my kitty.
It is a good kitty.
And if y'all decide y'all want your kitty as well, I'll still have reason to go back. There's still a framer kit and furniture for the house I can get.
Mm-hmm. I
But,
do want a kitty, but
but
need time.
those can be put off. I mostly just want to be sure I have it fresh in my head so that I can get my cat at all.
Yes.
So to do that, I need 2 more clears. I'm not keen on doing it solo. I would like to take you guys through it. Now that I've done the whole thing, it's I can play tour guide for most of it. Vaul's done come through it with me once. He doesn't remember. Probably floors 50 to 70, but those aren't.
It's all kind of a blur, really.
Those aren't that important. As long as you let me pull the patrols, we should be okay. So yeah, that's Eureka Orthos.
All right.
Indeed.
So yeah.
I think that'll be that until maybe we drag Fern through it or something. We might have his comments on it, but yeah. I don't have anything else for my week, even though it's still Vaul's week. So go Vaul.
No, I didn't really got anything else because work is really bearing down on me. I don't know what's going to be left of me by next week or the week after. I'm trying to keep everything pulled together. The main problem realistically for me, other than my just chronic lack of time, is the managing the amount of overtime people are doing, because when people have to do too much overtime, they become incredibly surly, and they will call in sick without notice, which will cause everybody to do even more overtime, and then the problem becomes self-perpetuating.
Mm-hmm.
There just aren't that many people around who knuckle down and do the work that has to be done, and I don't 100% blame them for that, because workplaces don't take care of their employees anymore. Like, there's not really the sense of ownership and camaraderie that there used to be. Even when I started, it was still around, but it's basically disintegrated by this point because there's so much churn and staff. So nobody really seems to be in it for anything but themselves. But that means that the amount of labour that we have to work with is incredibly volatile, and there's not really much to be done about it. And people become incredibly volatile as they work longer, and their threshold for what constitutes too much overtime gets lower and lower, to the point where it's sort of, we're closing on anything more than 40 hours in a week and they'll start to bitch and moan type of thing. But I mean, I think it's understandable to a certain extent, and things kind of suck right now largely because of interference from the sort of upper management. They have their priorities. Those priorities are not our priorities, but they are going to force them on us anyway. But yeah, I don't know. I've just got to basically keep the car in the road till the audit, then get through the audit and either get sacked or start working on patching things up. But at that point, I'll have 12 months to get everything shipshape. I'm well behind on a lot of things, but unless National Quality Department is planning to give me some help, they're going to get done when they get done and not a moment sooner. And they're going to have to learn to realise that. They decided to abolish shop floor quality staff as a concept, which is something that, when I tell people that we've recruited who've come from other laboratories, that's the policy for our company that's been imposed on us from head office, they think that I'm joking, because it's just such an inane way of doing things. But yeah, that's the way it is. So everything is bad, and I'm not going to say none of it is my fault, because I'm incredibly green at this. I'm green as grass at being a lab manager. That's just the way it is. But they gave me the job, And if they don't give me the support necessary to learn it properly and do it correctly, that's not entirely on me. Because they knew that I was green as grass when they hired me.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Oh, if you make it out the other end, maybe you'll be in a position where you're irreplaceable.
Well, that's probably the only thing that'll keep me employed. Because if they get rid of me, then they need to put somebody in my place. And there's nobody.
Yeah.
There's nobody to do that.
If they sack
Because
you and then they
I
come crawling
embody...
back...
Well, if they come crawling back, they have to double my salary, and then I might contemplate it.
Yes.
But like if they replace me, it's going to be very, very rough, and they are going to have to commit a large amount of human resources full time from one of their more successful labs to solve the problem in my place, because I am the embodiment of all knowledge as far as that place is concerned right now. There are people that I have trained who I trust to do various tasks, but there is a lot of things now, because so many staff were driven out by decisions from previous higher ups, that I am now the only person who has knowledge about a lot of things, and all of that knowledge will be lost if they get rid of me. And I'm not 100% committed to staying for any reason other than pride at this point. So, yeah.
If someone comes along with better offer, snag it.
Oh,
Yeah, well, I don't think that that's likely to happen, and I do want to see this through. Like, I took the project on because I believed I could see it through. I did not foresee the amount of external interference that I would be getting, because I thought that, and this is the mistake that I keep running into in business, in that I keep thinking that people want me to give them money, or they want to make money. Apparently people don't want either of those things. What people actually want is to get their way and avoid doing any work. That's what people actually want. People don't want money. And that's very strange to me, because I thought that's what business was about.
That is what business is supposed to be about.
No, what they actually want is to get their way, no questions asked, and to not have to do anything about it.
They want to be right.
I don't think they're even that concerned about being right. I think that they're just concerned about being the one who gets listened to. Like, the rightness is purely secondary to that. Rightness is just a way of getting listened to, but getting listened to is the priority. But yeah, it's... I've become increasingly misanthropic the more time I spend as a manager, because people just annoy the crap out of me now. They all have incredibly stupid demands most of the time. Like, they don't have any realization of how stupid they're being, but they all think that they're right.
Yeah.
Very frustrating. And it only occurred to me the other day, and I don't know why this had never occurred to me before in my life, but to a lot of people, solving problems by working hard just never occurs to them. Like, it's not that they thought about it and then decided, no, on a sort of cost-benefit analysis, it's not worth me putting in the effort. They didn't think that. It just never occurred to them that they could just work hard. That's not a solution.
Or in some cases,
Not a
it's just
solution.
work.
It's not in the book.
And it is especially frustrating. It's not baffling. It is wholly expected at this point, from being out in the business world as long as I have now. But it is frustrating that we live in a day and age where Google exists. 90% of the problems that people have, they could figure out how to do it with the internet.
Honestly, I don't want people doing that, because I've seen too many people trying to figure things out on their own and making incredibly poor decisions as a result.
Yeah, the problem is that yeah, okay, you can look something up on the internet, but a lot of people will start and end at TikTok, and you don't want to do that.
What I keep running into basically is people guessing rather than asking. Like, there is a proper way to do things, and the reason why you know that there's a proper way to do things is because we do it. This is a routine procedure. If there's a routine procedure, that means that there is a routine way of doing things. If there's a routine way of doing things, it means somebody knows the routine. If somebody knows the routine, you can obtain that routine simply by asking. And people don't. Instead, they make a random guess at to what they're supposed to do, and they do that, and then they break something.
Yeah, try at least. I don't know, man. When it comes to people just doing stuff, I don't just do stuff. I always try to pull some kind of reference material to check and make sure what I'm doing isn't a catastrophic mistake first. I mean, I made them before. I made a few, but
Well, everybody does, but
gonna happen.
it's usually you want to minimize those and have them only occur in circumstances where, well, I mean, it was a coin flip. There was really no way of determining the outcome, and we just had to try. But yeah, there's in most of the circumstances when it comes to routine work, there is a correct way to do it, and somebody's going to know. You just need to ask them. That's what you're supposed to do as a junior. You're not supposed to bring your insight to the task because it has already been established. Once you know how it's supposed to be done, then you can perhaps suggest an improvement to the process, and then we'll decide whether or not that's actually an improvement. But if you don't know what you're doing, don't make something up. That's not helpful. You're just going to break something and get me in trouble, because ultimately it will end up being my responsibility.
I feel like if I was a junior at your corpo, like for the first year or two or maybe 3, I would mostly just be trying to figure out procedure for all the different types of tests you run. And then
Usually by 4 or 5 months, they're calling themselves a leader and expecting a pay rise.
yeah,
And
and
like,
then
you have not paid off the number of mistakes you've made yet. Like you cause us to go negative every time you do a test because you're making too many mistakes. You can ask for a pay rise once you start turning a profit.
yeah, it's like if you see a piece of the procedure that just kind of you just do that's routine at that point after you got it down, you don't just change it either. You poke your head in the boss's room and go, "Hey, what's the purpose of this?"
I mean, sometimes I don't know the answer to that question, and then I just ask the person that does. I do the same thing. But I say, I don't actually know. I know that we do this out of tradition, but I don't know if there's an actual reason for it. It might do that to improve this. I'll talk to one of the people who's been doing this particular thing for longer than I have, and see if they know. Like I go through the same process.
But you don't just amend procedure on the fly.
No, that's bad. It's not procedure if you can do that. That means it's not procedure.
It literally throws a monkey wrench sometimes literal monkey wrenches, in the middle of everybody's workflow. There was a monkey wrench stuck in a pipe one time. This was a problem, and it was because somebody didn't follow procedure.
What, in a pipe?
No, on a pipe.
Oh, okay.
And they just left it there.
They just left it there, and they had unloosened one of the bolts and just left the monkey wrench on there.
Oh, that's... Oh, dear.
Not ideal.
No, not
Yeah,
ideal.
the other thing, like I've always thought of myself as sort of a weak and soft person because I am very prone to giving up and tend to be lazy whenever given half an opportunity.
Damn right.
But the reality is that from where I stand, people these days are unspeakably soft.
Oh yeah.
Like this idea that people need to go to therapy because of the stress of working 5 days a week. I'm sorry, what?
I don't know what they build people out of anymore these days. But it ain't this. It ain't the stuff we got in our homes. And I'm not the pinnacle of the hardest type of person out there. I'm quite amenable most of the time, and will come around to somebody talking to me and agreeing with what they say without too much fight. But I am infinitely harder than any of the Zoomers or any of the people just in the workforce now. The fact that I can just say no to somebody that's being dumb is miles ahead of wherever these idiots will be.
I keep getting told by the various people who are responsible for mentoring me that, I'm too soft and I need to stop caring about what my employees think of me and just read them the riot act whenever necessary. And I tend to go pretty light on that most of the time. But the reality is that that's still too hard for a lot of people here. Like they can't handle even that. They can't handle it at all. It's just like, oh well, it's too hard. I'll leave and get another job. Like, fine, because you're not actually any use. If you're too soft to get through the workday, you're not any use to me. But the thing is that we run out of people that way because everybody is soft now. Apparently,
everybody made Play-Doh.
Occasionally, we will have someone come through who knows the meaning of hard work, but those people are so valuable that it's very hard to keep them. because a better offer will come along. But we can't keep the soft ones because the work is too hard. Everything is too hard. Getting up in the morning is too hard. Showing up on time for work is too hard.
It's so frustrating with the Play-Doh people as well. Because instead of taking a chewing out and going, okay, so what do we do to fix that at the end of it? They don't do that. They don't take the chewing out and go, okay, I don't want this to happen again. How can we fix it? They start emotionally whimpering, maybe physically whimpering, in front of you, and just act like they're about to collapse.
That would be a step up. That would be a step up. The reality is what they do these days is they just threaten you that they're going to lay a complaint.
Oh, that's right. You're in New Zealand.
Yeah. The employee is always protected. Always protected. The law will always err on the side of the employee, no matter how unreasonable, no matter how lazy, no matter how obviously malicious. They will always win. So that's why, to a certain extent, it behooves you to be soft on people, simply because they have you over a legal barrel if they should decide to go that route. And it's a real problem. It's a real problem. You can't get rid of people who are just useless to you, because they will threaten you, and it's not an empty threat.
This is not a thing I can relate to, being in an at-will employment state. Employer can fire you for whatever reason they want to, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Anyway, that's enough of that. Let's move on.
Yep.
We got an email.
We do.
I don't have it up.
It's in the show host somewhere, buried.
I'm fighting a big crab thing. I don't know what this is. Mushroom...
Crab battle.
Crab... brain thing? I don't know.
Battle.
I will repost it.
Here? I don't know. I don't know if I'm looking at the right one. I'll
I
try
reposted.
anyway. I'll have to go and check to see if you reposted the one that I already got up on the screen.
Organised. Lovely.
Right. Dear No Excuses. So apparently OPSEC is not my strong point. The whole giving away my server location and all in FF14. Something that neither of us have to worry about because my subscription ran out. I'll resub at a later time.
Okay.
Also, WoW has been upping their game. They have released a mini content patch with the next big update coming in May. Changes coming to Mythic Plus, new story bits, so the game is not complete cringe. Really, if you want to know how bad it was, just go and watch one of Bellula's Shadowlands era VODs. He and his co-hosts were either on the verge of tears or maddened laughter when comparing the story to Shadowbringers. The big news for me this week is, however, my new PC. After the union put the factory's balls in a vice, they managed to squeeze out a nice bonus, some of which went to building a new gaming rig. After going through a bunch of reviews and price-performance comparisons, I went with a system based on an AMD Ryzen 750-700X and a Radeon RX 6650 XT. It works great along with my new 144Hz monitor, except for two issues. This motherboard's built-in Wi-Fi just about can't reach the wireless network, so I'm considering just running a 20-meter long Ethernet cable downstairs. And the ghosting of the new monitor makes my eyes bleed. Mind you, not while playing Monster Hunter or Squad or Arma. No, it shows up in Doom of all places. I've tried everything, but apparently it cannot be fixed. Not exactly the type of problem I expected to crop up in 2023. Speaking of Doom, the thing on the forum with the she-her, as a result of a whole bunch of the more prominent mods and total conversions, just left the ZDoom forums. I just wanted to play Doom mods, seriously. As for mobile games, I have tried Victory Bells. It's boring and bad. Some Westerners tried to make a military moe warship girl gacha, but the waifus this time are done in pin-up poster instead of anime girl style. Also, the gameplay is confusing and I have no idea what is going on. Deleted after 3 battles. Meanwhile, I keep progressing in Blue Archive, currently around map 6. The whole double rewards for hard mode, however, keeps sapping my energy like crazy. Serithus.
Alright.
Yeah. Haven't put much time into Blue Archive. I've just been dumping my stamina on the event when I remember to log in and dump it.
Yeah, that's basically been my stance as well. I don't have time for anything right now. I kept up with the latest FGO event. I just finished doing the 3 million points worth of ladders immediately before the show. On the upside, I was able to knock that out really quite quickly in terms of total time spent. So it was actually a lot more of a gentle grind than I expected. But on the downside, the reason I had to knock it out immediately before the show is because I haven't had a moment of time to work on it during the rest of the week. It's just been berserk. So yeah, Blue Archive is very much on the back burner. I'm just letting letting the resources accumulate basically. And once I've got time to actually look at it, then I'll have some stuff in the bank, I guess. So yeah, it's on the back burner right now. I mean, it seems nice enough, and I like the gameplay. It's quite simple, but still has some depth to it. But I just don't have time. I don't have time to look at anything right now, as far as Gacha is concerned.
Yeah, my time was entirely eaten by work, dying, getting up, and poking at a few single player games I might talk about next week if I actually get some time to sit down and play them. So I haven't put it in the Blue Archive. So I've just been dumping the stamina in the event, and they're incredibly generous free 5-star with full unique equipment they gave us.
Nice.
Yeah, it's unusually gratuitous generosity for a gacha game. And as far as I'm aware, that's the only time in Blue Archive's history in JP that they ever did that.
I have heard. I do not know how accurate this is, but I read somewhere. I think it was on Reddit, so take it with a grain of salt. The reason this happens this way is because on the original server there was a huge problem with this event, and so all the generous bonus drinks to make you go run around the track 80 bajillion times and the free 5-stars all to compensate for this event basically being broken when it came out on the original server.
Oh, okay. So they've just carried the rewards straight across 1-to-1.
Yeah.
That explains it. Like, I was very confused about how you would randomly get extra rewards in the morning or whatever for no apparent reason, as though, like, in the way you would expect maintenance rewards.
Mm-hmm.
But nothing happened to actually trigger them. So they must just be rolling out whatever compensation was given out at whatever pace it was given out during the original run of the event.
Well, because if they rolled it out and, as the originally intended without those extra rewards, there would be a whole lot of complaining.
Well, I'm not sure it would be.
The thing is, there might not be, but that's not the point. The point is that the design of the future meta will be based on the average power of the player base at that point in time. So the meta would become unstable. The course of development would become unstable if the average power of the player base was significantly lower because of not getting the same amount of goodies.
Yeah. And for those of us just starting out the game, getting a free 5-star, that's going to help.
Getting a ringer, basically.
Yeah. Even all she does is shoot one thing every 10 seconds really hard.
That thing just falls over. Every 10 seconds, something just falls over dead, and there's one thing that wasn't. There's one thing dead that wasn't dead before. So
yeah, I'll take it. I'm mostly in this for the story and the characters, so yeah.
Yeah, I did enjoy the Halo Festival story. Like, I thought it was very silly. But I liked the continuity between that and the previous event where the cheerbot made its comeback.
Oh, the cheerbot! I love the cheerbot.
Yeah, it definitely needed a machine gun, and Shiroko definitely needed to bring a rocket launcher to the athletics meet.
Yep. So yeah, we'll report more on Blue Archive as we actually play it, instead of just dumping stamina on it. But
whatever that might be. I try and log in every day, but that's about the most that I can manage.
Yeah, I log in and just go to the event, go to mission 4, and hold that plus button.
After all, I can't see Kokoro every day anymore.
Yeah. Crunchyroll, why you do this?
Because they're bad.
So, new PC sounds good. Sounds decent. Ryzen 7.
I have ghosting issues with my monitor as well. They're not terrible, but they are noticeable, and it's actually worse than my old monitors. I don't really want to trade this one in, so not because it was like especially expensive, but because it's very large, and to replace it with a more upmarket one in this size would cost a mint. Yeah, but so I do have ghosting issues with my monitor as well, but I just put up with them.
Yeah.
I just put up with them.
One issue I've actually started running into with my new motherboard is, I don't know, audio distortion. It just sounds like it's an old vinyl record occasionally, but it's only on like 1 or 2 games.
I feel like onboard audio technology sort of stopped developing circa 2020, like sort of 2010.
98.
Like maybe 98. No, in 98 you still had to select IRQ on some games.
Oh, that's true. And sometimes you actually had to choose your driver per game.
Everything was a Sound Blaster.
Everything was Sound Blaster, except when it wasn't.
I remember when I had a sound card in my computer. I still call the audio drivers in my computer a sound card.
Oh yeah, I've been caught doing that. But I'm not sure if it's like just the audio drivers, because I don't. It's like the same audio drivers as my old motherboard. They might need updating, or if it's the fact that my surround sound system is. And here was a horrifying thought: it's 20 years old.
So is mine. Well, mine's not quite 20 years old. Mine is, I think. What year did I buy it? I think I bought it in 2006. So it's not 20 years old yet. It's about 17 years old.
Yeah.
It's one of it was quite a ritzy one when I got it. I just don't recall exactly which model it is, because you can't get it anymore, of course, because it was 17 years ago. But it's a Logitech one, and it's still working. The backlight on the head unit is faded. Mm-hmm. It's kind of hard to read now, but I've had it 17 years, so I know what it's supposed to say. I don't really need to see it anymore.
Yeah. Mine's still using the old plugs, like old motherboards. Back when 5.1 surround sound gaming systems were really only coming in, either had your standard blue, green, red plug, and then it had like orange, yellow, black, or something like that. Alongside it.
Am I actually able to find the order? Maybe it wasn't in. Maybe I actually no. I had an LTEC Lansing back then. Yeah. Here we go. I bought it 19th of February 2008. The Logitech Z5500.
So 15 years. Okay.
Yeah, it was a $400 sound system back then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's still going strong. No problems with it, except for that fading backlight. I haven't noticed anything else that's particularly bad. I mean, it's just been a very solid sound system for me for a long time. It's rusting a bit in places because it's so old, and I was a student for most of that time, so I lived in damp houses. But I guess you don't have to deal with damp so much in Australia.
Damp is kind of the opposite of the problem I have.
But yeah, it's still going strong. I've actually looked at moving away from that audio solution a few times. As sort of like, well, what else? What is the next step up from this? Because a lot of people, generally speaking, like I can't sincerely advise anybody to buy computer speakers anymore.
Likewise.
Because the reality is that they are of roughly the same level of technology as the set that I bought in 2008, except now they're made of cheaper materials, so they're worse.
Yeah,
and the sound system I have has the problem that is very intrinsic to most computer speakers, that it doesn't do silence properly. There's always a slight hiss. There's no way of getting away from it.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, I can't recommend. You are better off getting, in most situations, unless you are like dead set on surround sound, you are much better off just getting a nice pair of active shelf speakers, because the sound quality in toto will be better than the computer speakers you would get for the same price.
Yeah,
you might not get a subwoofer, but the sound would be cleaner anyway. So
yeah, just get some nice bookend speakers. It's great. Although I have looked at replacing these at several points, and a lot of the time it's like, oh, you look at what's available and just go, well, I don't really need to upgrade because they do everything that my current speakers do.
Yeah, that's the reason why I never end up pulling the trigger on any kind of upgrades, because yeah, I might be able to get better sound quality. However, everything that I've got is just fine. It works just fine. And my surround sound works just fine. And getting a new surround sound of reasonable quality is a very, very, very expensive prospect.
Yeah. I think I actually got these ones for free as part of a computer bundle.
I just have my little Logitech bookend stereo speakers, and when I talk to people on Discord, I put the headset on.
Yeah, the other way to go is, of course, really good quality cans.
Yeah, but the thing with good quality cans is that there are so many different factors involved. Like the one that always stops me pulling the trigger on really ritzy cans is I haven't worn them before. What if it makes my ears or my head sore?
Yeah, and that's the worst problem I find with them is some of them are really, really comfortable, and others will just make your ears hurt after 5 minutes.
Cans? You mean like
Headphones.
over the ear earphones?
Over the ear headphones, yeah.
Not not an American word, but yeah. I have my pair and my brand that I buy, and I have bought this brand for a decade now, and only had to replace them once due to breakage.
Yeah. That's it, though.
Yeah, every few months.
I've got a really nice set of in-ear Bluetooth earphones that I use at work for listening to audiobooks while I work, and I get some really good sound quality out of those.
My ear canals are irritable, so I can't use them.
Oh yeah, and I wouldn't recommend using them for as long as I do because that ain't healthy.
I bought a pair of wireless cans for the office. Even if I don't have any sound going through them, they're on my ears all the time because the opossum will sit there and listen to TikTok all day long.
Yeah.
Instead of doing anything useful.
And it will drive me bananas.
Look at it like this: as long as he's watching TikTok, he's not doing any damage.
Just need him to answer.
But he's watching TikTok. That's damage enough.
Well, it's damage to him. I don't care about him.
Fair enough.
But we got a few more points in the email real quick.
I've already lost it.
Unsubbing to Final Fantasy right now seems fair. It's a fairly down.
We're in a lull. They're beginning the hype cycle for the next patch, but they're still just beginning it. It's not really rolling yet. A lot of people were very, very, very ticked off, as we've discussed before, by the relic weapons, because the relic weapons are sort of the thing that keeps you playing.
But they've been very underwhelming so far.
Yeah, I don't know if they really. What I'm concerned about is that the loudest voices in their ear are the people in the in-game raiding community, who they just want a powerful weapon to be able to be bought out easily for having as many characters and sort of bleeding edge raiding as possible, because of course you can only play what you can gear, right? And having super easily accessible relic grinds makes it very effortless for them to get a decent weapon for more jobs. So they're 110% in favor of it, and I'm concerned that their voice is louder because, they get a large amount of content designed specifically for them as it is, and they form an important tentpole of the community. However, that's not really what the relic weapons are supposed to accomplish. So I don't think that they should be listened to at all, to be totally honest. They have the content.
They may be the tent pole, but the rest of the community is the tent itself.
Yeah, like if they want weapons, then you need to redesign the weapon drop system for Savage raiding or whatever. You don't take away from the rest of the player base something that they look forward to, and then give it to the raiders. That's what World of Warcraft did, and it's why World of Warcraft became incredibly garbage as far as in-game design went.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the ones that dropping from Savage Omega and things like that are all actually better than the Mandivilles anyway.
But it's like 5 item levels. If you get a 630 weapon, you can do the raid with that class.
Yeah.
If you want.
So top doesn't actually drop any mechanical weapons. Those are just glamours.
Oh, okay.
But the problem with the getting the weapons out of Pandemonium, Savage Pandemonium, is the rate at which you acquire them is very, very, very low, and so your readiness for the next tier is severely throttled by the number of successful clears that you can get characters. You can get jobs through, because it's not like, unless you're like super top end doing your split clears on multiple characters, you're not going to have multiple jobs geared to that level.
Yeah,
but you can shortcut that process by having the Mandeville weapons in, because that means that you can have access to that stuff.
Yeah, I think the rate they earn it at Savage is like 1 or 2 weapons just straight up drop, and then every 4 weeks you'll get enough books to go buy a weapon for a class of your choosing. But
if you've got a large roster, or you're trying to do it by Party Finder or whatever, you're going to have a bad time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
it's just another reason not to join that rat race, to be honest.
Yeah,
I mean, I would love to do the content, but I have no interest in playing with people I don't know.
Yeah.
I am hesitant with the Savage Raid content because I'm okay with learning all the complicated and intricate dances when I'm alone. When I'm with people, though, I take a while to learn these dances. Like, I don't I don't click with them right away, so I'm worried about holding groups back. I don't. Even if I had the time to sit down and just really grind out and get good at the game, I'd be hesitant to join a raid group.
Honestly,
because this is.
yeah, I've been there. I've done that. I've run raid groups. I led raid groups for a little while, and I think these days I just don't have the energy to do it at that level anymore. It's just too much. I'd rather just chill and have
I did my
time.
I did my time in mythic raiding. That's more than enough, I think.
Yeah.
You know, we each had our era where we were that guy, but maybe we could poke at it again sometime. But I don't think right now is that time.
As far as World of Warcraft lifting their game, I think they're casting from hit points, to be honest.
Yeah,
Like, it's not that they don't have the talent. The talent exists in the pool of talent that they have to produce good content. And sometimes they do produce good content. But number one, what we hear about the new content doesn't sound audibly different from Cope. And number two, I have yet to see evidence that they can carry this on for more than a patch. And about a patch is the length of time they've managed to keep this cadence up for. So, yeah, a MMO does not prove itself over the course of a patch. An MMO proves itself over the course of years.
And furthermore, every time somebody mentions Dragonflight, it's always in reference to the previous expansion. And
Yeah, so, well, I mean, if you're comparing the taste of, like, filet mignon to literal feces, then the filet mignon is going to sound good, but it's supposed to be tasting good relative to other things in its tier.
Yeah.
It's not supposed to. Like, I mean, the 2-minute noodles also taste good relative to feces.
Yeah, like
So
it's going to be hard to tell if the content is genuinely good or if it's just so much a big step up that you
and deployed into an environment where everybody is desperately thirsty for the copium.
Yeah, you're not going to be able to tell if that filet mignon was left in the oven too long and is now made of leather.
Yeah, because before what you had wasn't food. So
Yeah.
I take it all with a pinch of salt.
Yeah,
It's just not. It's not. They can't sell that idea to me. Partly, of course, because World of Warcraft is a toxic entity that destroys your life. It makes you feel miserable all the time because it's designed to. It's designed to simulate having a gambling addiction. But I just don't. I don't trust that Blizzard is capable of doing things right because they have. I've heard this song before. I've heard this song before, and I heard it during Shadowlands. I heard people say this during Shadowlands. I heard people praise Torghast to the rafters, and then I heard them 2 weeks later saying that Torghast was a pile of garbage.
Yeah,
like
it did not last long at all.
you got a month or two under your belt now where people haven't got totally sick of it, but I think Shadowlands was just so bad we're still going to have to wait and see.
Actually, I think Torghast didn't even last a week before people were crying. It lasted like 3 days before the copium ran out.
No, there's some people going for a while.
It wasn't what people wanted in the end. But they were desperate to believe that Blizzard had listened to them. Blizzard are not listening. If they appear to be listening, it's largely an illusion. That's been the case up until this point. Maybe things have changed, but they need to do what they do well for an entire length of an expansion before I'm even willing to listen to the idea they might be competent at their jobs.
Yeah,
and that still won't make me go back.
They've made a step in the right direction, but so far it's only one step.
A step doesn't get you anywhere.
Yeah, you need to.
The other foot is still planted firmly where it was before.
And that was 30 steps behind where you were.
Yeah.
Like, being 29 steps behind where you were ain't progress. It's just slightly less bad. This analogy's falling apart.
Oh, yeah, we got to keep torturing the metaphors.
But, yeah. That's the WoW stuff. Because Serathis brought it up, I do want to, before we close out the show, talk about his topic that impacted him.
Oh, the thing.
I don't. It's not as fresh in my brain because I did all my digging last week, but I did do quite a bit of digging into this. It was big enough that it got its own forums thread and featured on the front page. So still, just noncery happening in a relatively small community, but it made a big enough splash that it got caught by the forums and given a feature tag. So I made some notes.
I like how you've just adopted the purely British phraseology.
Well, because I think it's safest for YouTube, TBH. I haven't heard anybody get banned for that yet.
Yes.
I would love
Matter
to
of
go.
time. Nonce rights are coming. You know it.
I know it. So, Serathis started this by sending a thing about an Orwellian conspiracy to shield one of their staff members accused of kitty diddling, if we want to go Razor Fist instead of Britain. And, yeah, that's what he did. He didn't do it directly, but he tried to solicit it. And he tried to get a 14-year-old. And, yeah, not good.
No, that's bad.
Some mid-tier modder, from what I could tell, called Marisa the Magician is the culprit. The actual diddler. Now, I don't consider him the only criminal in this case, because he had a whole bunch of people coming out to try and defend him. Namely, the entirety of one of the biggest Doom Forum's staff. And the reason, as far as I can tell, they did it is because they are one of the chosen people of the left. They are one of the oppressed groups. They are a she that at one point had a sausage instead of a taco. And by that, I mean a he. But YouTube's getting pretty picky about that right now, so that's as blunt a drop as you're going to get. So, the entire forum staff met up in their little, apparently the Doom community has a cross-community moderation team where the mods from multiple Doom forums will get together and discuss problem members on one Doom board with the mods of all the other boards. So if somebody gets excommunicated, they get excommunicated from all of them. I can see the theory. I can also see how this is obviously a bad idea. But, okay, sure. You got your little police Discord. They called it the Fun Police, I think, where all the mods and administrators from all the various Z-Doom forums, all the various Doom websites out there get together and discuss moderation of individuals and of content in general. So this guy got outed almost immediately by people in the community once he got caught doing this. And the Z-Dooms is the focus here because he was part of their forum. Was to try and defend this guy. Not defend him in an overt sense, as then they start speaking up for diddle rights or whatever, but they tried to sweep it under the rug. They didn't even want to ban him from the website for it. Yeah. And this is all revealed in the chat logs.
Huh.
Of particular, none of the people here are innocent, but the worst culprits were some Rachel person who gave me the impression they are the admin's girlfriend that got promoted to moderator because they're the admin's girlfriend. When I was reading through the Cope thread where they finally owned up to all this and trying to stop the community from lighting them on fire. And Caligari87 looks like he just got caught with his pants down because he was definitely trying to sweep this under the rug and seemed to be really pushing for it. And this other guy that seemed to, until this incident, had a really positive rep in the community, just got revealed as a two-faced weasel. This, actually, I think his name has weasel in it. Yeah, Wild Weasels is his actual name. So,
don't trust weasels.
He was apparently a really well-loved moderator on the Z-Doom forums by most of the modding staff there, at least, or at least the people that make the mods, because they all spoke favorably of him until this mess. And he appeared to be very focused on keeping this tamped down and looking like an ally, as it were, because they didn't want no hate coming to a certain community because one of their members is a nonce.
Well, let's be real. It's because everybody knows that these people are nonces a lot of the time. Like, it just keeps happening over and over and over and over and over again. These people groom children, and they groom children because of a prurient interest in children. It's as simple as that. And everybody knows it, but most people are too scared to say it.
And wonder of wonders, if you focus your entire life around sexual identity or sexual things, sexual deviancy and crimes are the first thing you go to whenever you go off the deep end.
If you're obsessed with sexuality, you will see everything in the light of sexuality. And unfortunately, for children are things that exist in the world, and therefore the people who see everything in light of sexuality will see children as sexual objects. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
Their entire worldview is distorted around this unhealthy lens.
So yeah. They tried to run interference by just sweeping this under the rug. They eventually had to ban him when word of mouth was spreading enough, and they wanted it just to end there. They didn't want to address it. They didn't want to do anything with it. And they tried to make this whole incident disappear. If I was to play devil's... no, I can't. You have to address this and say, no, this is wrong. Don't do this in our community. Somebody's been caught. They're not allowed here anymore.
Bad, MK.
Yeah, you've got to take a hard stance on that. Come on, people. This isn't a... What's wrong with you?
You can feed them into a wood chipper now in Florida, can't you? Or something. Weren't they going to make noncing a capital crime or something?
Oh yeah, the judge can sentence you to the wood chipper now. Is what it is.
Right.
So.
It's in Texas that you can kill somebody because they needed to be killed.
Yeah. And a particular note that made this all get out of hand was when this one modder, and apparently he's a voice actor mostly, and does artwork and stuff for the Doom mods, caught wind of this and saw it was being swept under the rug. It struck a chord with his conscience initially, and this was this Carlos Sanchez Cardboard Marty guy, and he put up a video just laying it all out and explaining everything and brought the receipts, and it seemed fairly convincing to me. And what I looked up on both the forums and the actual Z-Doom forums afterwards seemed to corroborate most of what he said. So yeah, it all looked pretty legit. That's what happened.
It is like the most stereotypically Hispanic name ever.
Yeah. So good old Carlos Sanchez. If he had done that, I would have had some respect for him, like as an individual. Like he gets a point at least for initiating this, but
there it is.
His lefty programming just couldn't take it. And first, it started with him turning off the comments on his video because a whole lot of people noticed that the not really a she was the nonce, and this was a no because this was drawing hate to the trans community. And then he unlisted the video. So we can still view it because Serathis has provided the link to us. But if we didn't have it, we would be hard-pressed to find it unless you know about a certain farm. So
hating on the trans community is like hating on leprechauns, though. It's like it's not a thing that actually exists. There's no community.
Yeah, there's a gaggle of people that like that label on Twitter.
There's a bunch of like TikTok and YouTube personalities, and then there's the children that they've groomed. Like that's basically the quote trans community unquote.
Yeah, and then there is and then if that wasn't far enough, he went on a giant Twitter tirade about trans hate is not okay, despite one of them getting caught with
my position is trans people aren't real, so they can't be hated either. Like there's no such thing. There are people who are acting in a particular way. Trans person is not an identity.
There are people that have become obsessively focused on sexuality as their core defining piece of their identity, instead of something
which in any other era would be referred to as perverts.
Yeah. But we have a whole lot of them, and if you anger them or Susan by pointing them out, then woe betide you.
It's not like that even a marketable demographic. They don't even control many votes, but everybody's pretending like they do.
Just victimhood is the end thing, my man.
I guess it's just I guess it's just a corollary to the idea of pretending that votes matter. We probably can't say that on YouTube.
Oh boy.
Save that for MPP.
Yeah, I'm a monarchist. I should be allowed to say that.
But yeah. So he lost a lot of points. Eventually, the entire Z-Doom's admin and mod community came out, made a big old cope thread, Like, yeah, we did it. We tried to cover it up. It's just called. They gave a whole bunch of excuses that don't matter.
I'm surprised that they even bothered to go that far. Like, I don't know where they're heading with that.
Well, this went on for a few weeks, and the community wasn't dropping it. So, presumably, to try and get things back on the road, they had to address it in some way. Finally,
I don't know. Why would you think that would work? Like, let's say that the shoe was on the other foot. Like, they don't temporarily excommunicate people for going against the orthodoxy, and their progressive orthodoxy is that trannies are inviolate angels. Like, if somebody went against that narrative, they would be excommunicated for good. There would be no backing down. There'd be no apology. But when they go against the normal person orthodoxy that kids are not for diddling, they expect to be forgiven.
Yeah. So this went over about as well as you would expect. And some fairly reasonable people came in. They unbanned a bunch of people as their first act of goodwill, and these were people that were very blunt about, hey, you don't defend nonces. You can't defend kitty diddlers.
This should not need to be said.
And so they unbanned all those people, because apparently there was a wave of banning going on, particularly the people that were more fiery or passionate or honestly seemed to be a bit more right-leaning about it.
Well, it's because it's very, very, very difficult to avoid having banning people like that framed in a way of, they banned me for opposing noncery.
Yeah.
Like, so if they can legitimately frame it that way, there's no way of coming out and looking good after that.
So a few of them came into the thread after they were unbanned and laid out a whole bunch of things that the admin staff could reasonably do, and they seemed like good things to me. I don't know how much they followed through, because most of this happened in the following week after I stopped following the story. But things like these mods, these administrators, all of which are known to be involved in this, need to step down. And they nominate
themselves into the police. Ideally.
That would be my ideal outcome, but they at least got them to step down, and some of them are still on back-end roles, like doing web host stuff, but they're off the public-facing end, including the clearly an administrator's girlfriend person. And they seem to be completely restructuring the Z-Doom forums with new leadership after this, because those people's names are mud.
Yeah, right.
So this was the drama in the Doom community this past 2 weeks. I have not followed up since last week. I don't know what developments have happened since then, or how much they've stuck to their promise, or if anything is still going on. The thread is still active, although not featured anymore on the forums. I could go get caught up, but that's quite a few pages. It was moving pretty quick.
All right. What's next?
So there you go, Seraphis. If you provide me with stuff like that, I will happily dig into it for you to make fun of the people you love.
I don't think he loves those particular people.
No,
Not anymore, he doesn't.
All right. Next bit of news, and we're just going to change it into the news because, yeah, why not? The Mario movie is now the biggest thing since sliced bread. I think we talked about this a little bit last week. Or week before.
Yeah, the records. This is more a continuation of the records just continue to pile up.
Yeah.
It's doing really well. And specifically, I linked the Miyamoto article there for something he said when he was being interviewed about the Mario movie. And I wanted to highlight... let me see if I can find the quote. The quote's not important. The general gist is... Miyamoto said that he thinks a big reason it was so successful was the Western critical reception from the the proper phenomena types.
It seems to be the go-to thing, honestly, now, is if the critics absolutely pan a movie mercilessly and give it the lowest scores possible, it's going to be good.
Well, and they didn't burn it. They just came off with basically it's watchable, but it's not woke. 5 out of 10.
Yeah.
The standard.
Princess Peach wasn't a capitalized strong female protagonist.
I mean, they still play the girl boss card too hard with her, I think. But
yeah, I heard they do a bit, but it's not to the obnoxious levels that you usually expect out of Hollywood.
You know, for these days, that's fairly tame.
Yeah.
Hopefully, it doesn't get any worse than that.
Yeah,
but
I wouldn't have gone that route with Peach anyway. I would have gone probably a different route, but whatever.
Save that for Daisy or somebody that already has
Yeah, Daisy
kind
would have
of
been
the
better for that.
yeah. Daisy already has the aggressive personality. You could have done it with her, but I'm not sure why they did it with Peach.
Yeah, Peach has always been the voice of reason.
Well, Peach has always been the voice of femininity,
That too.
but
So
so I don't think it matches her character as portrayed in most of the games, but it is what it is.
yeah, the only one time she's really shown up anything like that is the very end of Mario Odyssey, where she's just absolutely sick of everyone's crap.
She literally has a DS game where her emotions going out of control are superpowers.
Oh, you mean the game where she's going through menopause?
Yes.
That one. Yes.
Like, I don't get girl boss vibes from that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's literally what that whole game is a metaphor for, and they're not even subtle about it.
So yeah, that's that. And I just thought that was really interesting. Miyamoto, it has keyed in on, if the critics hate it and the audience loves it,
Then
we're gonna do
you've done-
gangbusters.
Then you've done your job.
It's like it like it just finally clicked in his head during the interview. It's like, the critics don't matter. All these official types, they don't matter. They're not the fans.
Yeah, they don't matter.
Like, it's just a continuing story of the decline of journalism, period. in as far as a profession, because journalists are just useless because they're so disconnected from the common man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's been a trend that's been happening for years now, but it's interesting to see someone like Miyamoto actually stand up and notice it.
Especially because he's from the East. And
Especially
I
for-
gleaned this is a more of a passing notice thing. It's not something he put a whole lot of brain thunk into,
Yeah,
but it's just something he noticed in passing, and now it's on his radar. So should he decide to license things out again and maybe assert any kind of creative control, he knows the critics don't matter.
Zelda movie?
Which means he can say no to a whole lot of dumb Hollywood crap.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was some good news. I'm happy the Mario movie's doing good, and it's not a super woke fest, and
It's
just
not awful. By all accounts, I still haven't seen it yet. I'm going to watch it at some point when time allows, but it seems fun. It's taken a leaf out of the Sanic book and, made something for the fans.
It's already successful enough. It doesn't need me to go see it in theaters. I'll check it when it hits Blu-ray or something.
I've really got no interest in actually going to theaters. I'd rather stay at
yeah,
home.
so I'll wait till the streaming service or the Blu-ray comes out. But yeah, it is what it be.
Tis be good. All right. Something that is not good and something that's been on my radar over the last week has been it's William Watsy again.
Oh boy, this is all you. So take it away.
Oh boy. Honestly, I'm not really surprised by this because they've basically become cartoon villains at this point. It's getting ridiculous. So they've got a new set of magic cards coming out, which, one of the bajillion sets that they're releasing without, actually listening to the fans saying that they're over-releasing and devaluing their product. No, anyway. But due to an error with a distributor, one YouTuber actually got hold of a set of these cards early, a few boxes. He's only a little guy, he only got a few thousand views and all of that, or followers, I should say. So he did what any YouTuber...
That is a important part of the story, by the way. I'll get into it later.
It is.
Keep going.
Yeah. So he did what any YouTuber would do and made content opening the packets and talking about the new cards. Watsy responded to this supposed leak by sending the goddamn Pinkertons to his house. The literal Pinkertons.
For those that don't know what the Pinkertons are, Corpo Goons.
Corpo Goons.
Yeah, they are there to intimidate and maybe issue legal challenges to you.
Well, maybe, but they're more likely to step on your neck if history is any indication.
I imagine they're more professional now since Watsy can hire them, but they're probably still they're goons.
They're goons, professional goons. Yeah, they were big during the union busting depression days. I honestly did not think they were still around. I thought they were consigned to the history books, but apparently not.
Got to keep the family business going. In a way, I can respect the hustle.
Yeah, but sometimes you just should let something go because you've got that big historical red mark on you. Although,
if thuggish goonery is the family business, sometimes if you're the oldest son, you just got to keep it going.
you've got to keep your goons going. On the other hand, I suppose BMW still exists, so Anyway, so yeah, Watsy claims that they reached out to the guy by phone. They tried to ring him, but of course, unknown number. He probably didn't respond if they actually did ring him at all, which I'm like 50% chance they did. So instead of following, the next logical steps by emailing him, reaching out through YouTube, sending a company rep to his house or something like that, nope, they just went straight to the goons.
Like, they could have just sent a lawyer.
They could have sent a lawyer. They could have even sent a police officer around.
Like, they could have come up with a lawyer and said, "Hey, check your phone."
Yeah.
And laid out a whole bunch of legal reasons. Now, that can be fairly intimidating by itself.
Yes.
But sending goons to just for the sole purpose of intimidation, I guarantee you this guy did not live in the South.
Yeah, without going...
Well,
Yeah, that would have come entirely different. Without going too into detail on what actually happened, is they basically, once he opened the front door to these people, they kind of pushed their way in and started throwing their weight around and intimidating his family and scaring the hell out of his kids and all of that horrible, horrible stuff. They backed off a bit once he started complying because, what he was ultimately requesting isn't something that's entirely unreasonable. It's like, product is unreleased, please give back. But...
Yeah. Or please remove videos or something.
Yeah.
Something, this is technically in the contract, you need to uphold it. But you could do that with a lawyer.
You could do that with an email.
Yeah, so here's the deal with sending goons around. You don't get goons in the South. There's a reason you don't get goons. Well, I have lost a lot of faith in my fellow Southerners over the course of Couth. I thought they had a lot more backbone than they did. If somebody comes on their property and threatens their family, you're getting shot.
Yeah.
They do not care who you are. You will just get shot.
Yeah. It is also important, even if you're not in the South and you don't go that route, it's important to know what is legal and what isn't. And this is extremely illegal.
If they put their hands on anybody, yeah, that's it. If he's in the U.S., that's game over.
Yeah, I don't even need to do that. It's intimidation.
Yeah.
But
it's super game over if they put their hands on anybody.
Oh yeah, it is ultra super game over then. But yeah, there is a right way and a wrong way to do this, and this was very much the wrong way. And Watsy didn't even deny it. They outright confirmed it. Yeah, they sent goons. It's not the first time Hasbro's done this either, but from all reports.
Yeah. So if you're gonna break a street date, people, the lesson here is send it to a Southerner.
Yeah.
Because Watsy ain't gonna send goons to a Southerner.
Well, they'll do it.
Because the Southerner will send them back something, but it ain't gonna be the product. It's gonna be black and have a zipper on it.
Let me just see. Check the article. When did he where actually was he? Going down. It doesn't actually say.
Did I mention I love being a Southerner? I love this. This is our way of dealing with problems like this.
Yeah. So...
You seem very uncomfortable, Fern.
Yeah. I'm halfway through this article. Yeah. While they did confirm that they sent goons, they did say, however, it did not go however this guy says it went. But honestly, I'm more likely to believe the word of, no-name Joe Blow card guru YouTuber than corporate Shoggoth.
Yeah, Watsy has demonstrated that they're liars. There's no reason to believe a liar.
Yeah. The fact
this guy...
He's accusing him of something that is 100% believable and in character lately.
Yeah, especially something when he is in potential legal trouble and says something like that has legal weight behind it. That gives him a little bit of credibility. He still could just be, shaken and lying or misremembering. Like that is a possibility.
It is a possibility.
if a bunch of dudes show up and act untoward to you at your house, your emotions will probably get flared, and you may misremember stuff.
Yeah,
I can see that.
The human brain kind of does all sorts of wacky things under stress like that.
I mean,
But
mine reaches for my pocket.
yeah, I can entirely believe that WotC and Hasbro would do something like this.
Oh yeah, I can believe any major corpo in America would do this.
Yeah.
If they think it's in a safe region where they can get away with goon intimidation, they absolutely would do it.
Yeah. So if you needed another reason, here's another reason not to give WotC and Hasbro any more money.
And also a reason the Second Amendment is a good thing and why your state should not restrict it, because these big corpos are ruthless until they realize the people that they're intimidating may be able to cause problems for them and their goons.
Even if you don't want to start waving iron around, a quick call to the police will make them scatter too.
The police ain't going to get there in time if they're getting in your family's face.
Yeah, and you're not going to be thinking that straight at the time either. It's
Like,
kind of how the goons work.
If a dude is at your house and in your wife or your family or your daughter's face, no, you don't call the police. You bust out the 45 and send what's left of his head back to WotC and say, try again.
Jeez.
I'm not exaggerating at all. This is the way to handle stuff like this. If this story is legitimate and what this guy says is true, then yes, that is the appropriate way to deal with this scenario. If a bunch of corpo goons show up at your doorstep and threaten your family, you plug them.
No.
They do not have a right to come in and intimidate you, your family, and potentially put you in some kind of immediate harm. You don't know that they're corpo goons. If they're coming up and trespassing on your property, you don't have a clue.
Here's another little interesting little nugget that's only just been appended to the bottom of this article not long ago, actually. You currently have Robin Klimek. Yeah, I think that's how you pronounce it. The Security Risk Management Officer or Director at Hasbro. Previously, Director of Supply Chain Security Practice at Pinkerton.
Oh, so he just
And
went with what he knew.
And former goon.
Yeah, so he went with what he knew.
So that has a whole lot more credibility.
If you are in America, you are in a stand-your-ground state, and any company tries to do this to you, you are well within your right to remove that individual from the face of this earth if they threaten your family. If you don't know what they're going to do, you don't know how violent they're going to get, you don't know if they're who they say they are, but if they're getting in your family's face and not leaving when you tell them to leave, you can plug them, and you should plug them.
Yeah, the law is different here, but yeah.
This is miracle law.
That's a miracle law. That's not Australia and New Zealand law.
Yeah, this is my general advice to you fellow Americans. You have a Second Amendment, use it.
It's America. Alright, so that's that business. I wanted to love WotC. 20 years ago, I did love WotC. Now,
I love WotC products. I never loved WotC.
I don't even love WotC products anymore because both have become a parody of the former selves.
Oh yeah, I've long since drifted from WotC products now, but I used to love their products.
Yeah.
And then I found better stuff.
Yeah, there is better stuff.
And then I built better stuff.
Yep. In the case of D&D, you can.
Like it ain't hard to homebrew with the fudge system.
Yeah. Magic, it's a bit harder, but I mean, you've got out there, you've got all the various digital options, Shadowverse if you want to go for that route, or the various online Yu-Gi-Ohs. Yeah,
or just Yu-Gi-Oh! In general has just as big a scene.
Yep.
Different play style, different game speed, much faster, but still an option.
Yep. You've the entirety of the Bushy Road catalog if you want to descend into madness.
Yeah, you got the indie games. They don't have as big of a scene, but you can probably find a local store within about 30 miles of you.
Yeah.
If you're in civilization anyway. If you live where me and Fern do, it's about 50 to 100 miles.
Keep going.
Or more. For me, you're on Mars. I'm in the sticks.
Yeah, the closest ultra nerdy shop for me would probably be in Brisbane, so 1,600 kilometers. I'm not sure what that is in miles because of your crazy moon language.
So yeah,
Yeah.
there are alternatives to WotC, is the point.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've never looked back after abandoning WotC products. I never was a big Magic fan, so I played it, I enjoyed it, but I was always more into Yu-Gi-Oh, and then I got into Hearthstone for a little bit, and then I played Shadowverse for a bit. There are TCGs out there that feel better than Magic does.
Mm-hmm.
IMO, they're digital now, and honestly, the TCG community has degenerated to such a point, especially in my area for reasons I can't say on YouTube, that I don't relish the idea of going to local card game tournaments anymore.
Well, there was that story a few weeks ago by a kid who chuckled when he was asked his pronouns.
Yeah, there's that, but I have a different reason, and it is very not safe for air.
Yeah, we don't.
It is true. It is a true statement. Every bit of it is true, and to deny it would be to lie. But I can't say it because YouTube.
Right.
What are we talking about now?
What's
people at card game tournaments.
You just missed that entire segment, actually.
Yeah, people.
Yeah, that was the whole bit about what's he sending the Pinkertons around to a YouTuber.
Oh, right.
The actual freaking Pinkertons.
I got a good Second Amendment right now.
They're just a detective agency, bruh.
Yeah, that's actually what they claim themselves to be, and yeah, no one believes that. Not even remotely.
So yes.
Oh dear. And I think that's the biggest bits of news.
Yeah, I threw some other small stuff in there, but none of it's. There's two things I want to touch quickly. I'll zoom through these. First off, this is just a do. Coco finally got her dream.
Oh.
She's in a Yakuza game as a cabaret girl, as her actual self, not as Coco or as Kei-san.
She's in the new Yakuza. Was it Like a Dragon Ishin?
Gaiden.
Ooh.
The interquel with Kazuma Kiryu as the protag.
Oh, nice. Is she talking
yeah, so
about
she is the
boobage?
Yeah, probably. Who knows what she's doing? But we don't know anything about what the cabaret club girls are like yet. But she is in a Yakuza game with Kiryu as the protagonist. So she got her dream.
She's going to be talking about her badonkers. It's Coco.
I mean, looking at her real body, she's got a bit of a butterface, but she could stand to lose a little bit of weight. But she's endowed.
She's got the badonkers.
I'm sure that she'll get a glow up in animated form.
Yes. Like, she doesn't need to lose that much weight, but she needs to lose a little bit, and her face is a bit of a butterface. But
well, she does have a job that involves primarily sitting in front of a PC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's
so she's the one. She's the one in the middle. I'll link the Tech Raptor article so y'all can see her. She is the one in the middle in live show chat on this one.
That one is in the pile. Is Yakuza Ishin or Like a Dragon?
I've still got to get through Like a Dragon.
I've still got to finish Like a Dragon. I really like a Dragon. It is ridiculous. Although they have dropped Yakuza from the title now, but for some reason it's just like it's this game about the Shinsengumi and that period. Also, Majima is there. Why is he there?
Because?
No idea.
Because there is always Majima.
Because Majima is eternal, apparently. Yes.
And everywhere. Right. So, the next thing I want to touch on. Coinciding with our anger at Crunchyroll, there is a spark of hope for future Cygames releases. Probably there's no hope, let's say. But, Cygames has opened up a licensing and marketing division in-house, so owned by Cygames in Europe and America now.
Well, I mean, to be fair, they were just taught the lesson that they can't trust anybody else.
Yeah.
I think this, as soon as they realized what Crunchyroll was up to, the talks went in immediately for this, and the timing seems about right.
Yeah, it would have taken them a few weeks to get things organized.
No, it took about a month for them to hash this plan out and run it through the higher ups. So, yeah, this seems about right. It lends a whole lot of weight to the Cygames got spooked theory.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's that.
We shall see whether or not they're going to be able to re-up Pinecone and keep everyone's save data. Remains to be seen.
Oh, they I don't
No,
think they
it's-
will.
it's-
I think that that ship has sailed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Pinecone's game over. There's no saving it at this point. Even if you did rescue the license and open up a new global server, there's no way you can wrestle that data from Crunchyroll.
Yeah.
Well, not only that, the localization is probably owned by Crunchyroll, like the part of the data that is produced.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know. I don't think that I don't know if maybe it's possible that the localization team were external to Crunchyroll and Crunchyroll was just operating it. I don't know that for sure, but it would be a legal minefield at best to try and sort the ownership of that stuff out.
What is more likely, I think, is we'll see the Western release of Pinecone 3, which technically that would be at that point.
Well, this is probably set up with his first project being the Umamusume global servers.
Yeah. Also,
I would imagine that.
Everyone loves horse girls, I guess.
Yeah, horse girls. Everyone likes horse girls, apparently. Also, just a random nugget I've discovered during the show is apparently at some point during last week's romp, I picked up a Nightmare Whistle.
Oh, nice. The
ultra rare.
pretty rare pony.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I've passed up so many of his because I've run those stupid primals so many times.
yeah,
The whistles are all over the place.
I've gone through so many, but I hadn't actually seen the seen Nightmare. Where is it?
All right, I needed to keep taking y'all through Shiva. I forgot. Oh well. We'll do
Blue
it
Mage is
later.
not going anywhere. There he is. That's Nightmare.
Yeah,
So-
that's what Blue Mage content is for. Just
So
sort of being
shiny.
there.
Why is he so shiny?
I don't like Nightmare very much. I never use him.
He's black, but he's also shiny. Why is he so shiny?
So there is one article newslet that I want to end this week on to get us back on form.
all right.
Nier Automata has announced its next crossover.
I was like, oh no, what does he mean by on form?
Considering the
With-
article title is like, really, guys, really,
Well, this one did come from Niche Gamer, so you get what you get.
you get what you get.
They are crossing over with the most booty-tastic mobile game out there, Nikkei Goddess of Victory, and I cannot think of a more appropriate game for Nier to cross over with.
You got to get the butts. It's all about the butts.
Yep. So if you want your 2B jiggling, you've already got it in Final Fantasy. You've got it in the game itself. You've got it in goodness knows 50 other properties. Now you can get the ultimate booty jiggle in Nikkei Goddess of Victory.
Didn't Nika have an anime
Just,
a few years back, or was that a different one?
No, that's a different one.
Different one.
There's a lot of gacha games.
And there's a lot of anime about butts as well, incidentally.
The Nikkei's only thing is when the girls shoot guns, their booty go jiggle.
Yeah, it's like it's a meme for that reason.
Right.
Like I've never played this game, but even I know what this is. I actually
I'm
didn't know about it until Vaul pointed it out to me, and I went and looked it up. I'm like, oh.
It's the butt.
Yeah,
There's
I
fun.
hear about a lot of the popular gachas that are being played, but I try not to involve myself in too many of them. I had my heart broken by Pinecone.
Yeah. All right, we
So-
need to wrap up and get out of here.
All right. So, start with this. You got any corrections to my reading of the Doom story? Because I thought I did pretty good with it, although I don't remember everything from last week and might have got some wires crossed. So, feel free to correct me in another email. And, yeah, closing comments and let's get out of here.
I don't want to adult anymore.
I will do my best to survive the next few weeks. I just want everything to go back to normal.
I just want my office back so I can throw the phone at the opossum.
Yeah. It's been a week.
Yep. I do have a few single player games I'm working on. I'm working on the Battle Network collection, and I finally got around to installing Trails from Azure.
Ooh.
I barely made it through the prologue of that game.
You have discovered the chest
but-
puns though.
Yeah, I did post the first few chess puns I found.
As
And
you
the
do.
best of the last game, which was, I must read this on air. Seems like the perfect thing to end the show with. 1 second. How can Estelle spin her staff so fast? Because it's a hurricane. Best
all right.
pun.
I'm turning the stream off.
We'll see you next week, folks. Sayonara. Bye-bye.